Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I just thought I'd return to you this afternoon for a album review. This is one that I wanted to review for you guys because I didn't get around to reviewing it anytime soon on August 1st because I completely missed out on this album for the new Renee Rapp Bite Me album. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the uh, 12 tracks on this record overall, and I'll let you know my thoughts on Renee Rapp's new album, Bite Me. So let's dive into this album review. Now, this is her second studio album in her discography of music, and overall, um, what do I think of this record? We'll start it off with Leave Me Alone, which is probably the worst track on the record, unfortunately. I didn't really like how she was singing it. I mean, the chorus was okay, but it's just the verses were very lacklusting and cringy as hell with how she was singing it, and just the way her monotone rapping vocals sounded. I just wasn't feeling for this track, honestly. So this is a 2.25 out of 5. Probably my least favorite track on this record. Then we get to Mad, and this one was meh. It's not terrible, but it's in the middle with me, so a 3 out of 5 is deserving for this. I've heard the album like twice already, and I gotta say, I'm not a super fan of this record. So overall, Mad is a 3 out of 5. Why Is She Still Here was an okay track. Not anything terrible, but just on the okay to mass side of a alright song, I guess you could say. So, yeah, this track didn't really offer a lot, but for what it went for, I think it's alright for the execution. 3.25 out of 5. Then we get to Sometimes, and that's a pretty good song with how Renee Rapp is singing this track. For a regular track, I think it did alright for the most part. So I'd give this a 4.75 out of 5. Her vocals did shine through some of this track. And execution wise, I think with how it turned out, not a terrible song in any way. So yeah, pretty good song in its own way. Then we get to Kiss It, which is a sexualized track, which that's fine. I don't mind these kinds of songs sometimes, but it's just the execution is the main thing. And with the execution for this track, it kind of flip flopped. You didn't know where it was going. It alternated, it was trying something interesting, and then the track just was a little all over the place a bit. But overall, for the pop beat and everything, it was fair of a track, so it's okay. 3.25 out of 5. Good Girl is a good song for how it sounds. I do like this track from time to time, so I'd give this a 4.5 out of 5. It's not a terrible song, but it's kind of good for how it sounds. I think Renee Rapp's vocals do work from time to time in this track, and just the execution of this song did alright. Then we have I Can't Have You Around Me Anymore. This was the 7th track on the record, and it's overall a good song for how it sounds. I think this is where the album starts to get a little bit more better. Like a little better than the first few songs. Like Sometimes was one I can say I'll praise because that was a strong track, and a few other songs did alright. But overall, I Can't Have You Around Me Anymore is a good song for how it executed. So 4.5 out of 5. Shy was a pretty good song. I would probably say I do like this song. I think it's a good song. I wouldn't say it's as good as Sometimes or another track that I enjoyed on this record, which we'll talk about soon. But overall, I think Shy did pretty well for the most part with the execution, with Renee Rapp singing, and just the overall mixing and production did fairly solid. So 4.5 out of 5. At Least I'm Hot is a decent track. Not anything that I'm crazy about, but it's something I could say that is a decent listen for the execution. So this one's a 4 out of 5 too as well. Well, it's just a 4 out of 5 basically. Not terrible, not great. Sorry about my dog was getting off my bed, so that's why the camera shook a little bit and probably messed up the audio quality of the video. But overall, At Least I'm Hot is a 4 out of 5. Decent track, not terrible, not great, but fairly solid. I Think I Like You Better When You're Gone is a good track. I didn't hate this song for how it sounded. I think Renee Rapp's singing vocals are pretty solid for the most part, and nice melody to it as well. So this one's a 4.5 out of 5. Don't really have a lot to say other than the fact that I did enjoy majority of this track for how it sounded. That's So Funny is a good song too. It's got nice acoustic moments, and good vocals from Renee Rapp in this track. So it's pretty melodic and sounds really nice for 2 minutes and 49 seconds. So you're in for a good song. 4.5 out of 5. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Is the closing track to the record, and a pretty good closing track to end this record. So I think Sometimes in this track are probably my personal favorites, and some of the good to decent songs are alright. Um, but this is where I will be scoring it in a second on what I really think of it overall. But overall, I think uh, it's a 4.75 out of 5 for You'd Like That, Wouldn't You? So, yeah. Overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think Renee Rapp's Bite Me album was okay. Not anything I'm gonna be coming back to a lot. It's probably a record I can say I'll listen to, but I won't listen to all that much because it's not the best received album in my opinion. The reception on this was kind of iffy. It just depended on the executions of the songs and the delivery and how it sounded. And with the execution and delivery for some of the tracks, I think Leave Me Alone's the worst song. So, yeah, I'm kind of in the middle with this record, but I wouldn't say I hate this record overall. So if I were to give Renee Rapp's Bite Me album a score, I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I'm kind of meh with this record. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think there's some songs on here that are pretty good, but there's a few songs that ruin the execution of this record. Like Leave Me Alone, Mad, Why Is She Still Here, and Kiss It, Kiss It. Um, those tracks, I wasn't really on board with those songs. Everything else did fairly good and decent for the most part. So I would say tracks 4, 6, I would say Sometimes, Good Girl, I Can't Have You Around Me Anymore, Shy, At Least I'm Hot, which was a decent track. I Think I Like You Better When You're Gone, That's So Funny, and You'd Like That, Wouldn't You? Are probably songs I would recommend you guys listen to for this record. Everything else is okay to bad. Okay, man, bad. So, yeah. 6 out of 10 for Renee Rapp's new album, Bite Me. Thanks for watching this album review this afternoon.